Conference since confirmation of his appointment as the new England head coach. He has been given an 18-month contract. We know there he is, Thomas Tuchel, walking in at Wembley with a big smile on his face after taking on the role as England head coach. An 18-month contract, as I said. He has been tasked with winning a World Cup in 2026. We have heard quotes from Mark Bullingham. We're going to hear live from the FA Chief Executive as well as Thomas Tuchel on what this means, on the decisions that they've made to bring Tuchel in on this contract, which begins in January 2025. We are going to bring you a reaction straight after this news conference as well, so do stay with us. We'll reflect on everything that Thomas Tuchel and Mark Bullingham has to say as they get set up. Let's listen in live now.
We've appointed one of the very best coaches in the world and one of the very best young English coaches as his number two. Our aim is always to win a major tournament, and we believe Thomas gives us the best possible chance to do that at the next Men's World Cup. We had a clear recruitment plan in place before the Euros, and John McDermott and the team developed our ideal profile for an international coach and a shortlist if we needed it. After Gareth resigned, we executed that plan. We met and evaluated potential candidates. Thomas was absolutely outstanding, providing a really clear vision for the role and how he would work with our players to get the best out of them and to give us the best chance in the World Cup. We were delighted to sign contracts with Thomas last Tuesday, but wanted to wait for the international window to be over before we announced. We're also delighted that Ant is joining us as one of the most exciting young English coaches around. Before I pass to Thomas, I'd like to thank Lee Carsley for stepping into the role for 6 matches. He's handled himself really well, and I'm sure will continue to do so. Lee will manage the team for the November international window and then return to lead the under-21s, trying to defend their European Championship title. I would also like to thank Gareth and Steve. The fact that we had such a high level of interest in this role is testament to the foundations they laid over their 8 years with us. Thomas, would you like to say a few words?
Of course. Thank you, Mark. And hello to everybody. I'm, of course, obviously very excited and honoured to be here today as a new head coach of England. I just had the chance to read a quote from Pelé in the building in Wembley, who said that Wembley is the heart, the capital and the cathedral of football, and I think he was absolutely right. So I want to take the opportunity to thank the FA, especially Mark and John, for their trust, and I'm very excited to start this journey in January with you, with the staff at St. George's Park and at Wembley, and of course with a very special and exciting group of players to make our dream come true in America.
Well, Thomas.
Hi.
Congratulations. It's Rob Dawson from Sky Sports. Nice to see you. Look, you've had some huge jobs in football already.
Yeah.
Is this your biggest challenge? And with that in mind, would it be your biggest achievement if you led England to a major title?
I understood very quickly that it's a big job. I think it's always the job you're in is the biggest job that you don't get, and it does not make a lot of sense to compare. But it feels big, and it feels, like I said, like a privilege. It is very new because I come from club football, so the rhythm, the responsibility, the role is a new role, which is also very exciting. I was very open for that and liked the idea of it. Once Mark and John made clear to me that this job is about football, we never lost the momentum, and once I made a time frame up in my mind from January to the World Cup, I felt already excited, and that it suited my passion and my strive to push this group of players and to be part of this federation with such a strong record in the last tournaments, to push it over the line and to try to put a second star on the shirt.
Good luck. Mark, your statement was... Sorry, I didn't mean that the way it sounded. It was a little bit flippant, that, wasn't it? I beg your pardon.
Yeah.
Mark, your statement was unequivocal, really, in saying that your entire criteria, your primary criteria, was to appoint somebody that could deliver a major trophy. Is it an uncomfortable truth for you, though, the fact that Thomas isn't English?
So, Rob, we were always really clear that we wanted the very best person for the job, and we feel like we owe it to the players and the country to give them that support, that leadership in tournaments that will help to get them over the line and give us the best chance of winning a trophy in the Men's World Cup. So we feel we've done that. We feel delighted that Thomas has joined us.
Thomas, Dan Rowan, BBC. There'll be many England fans who are very excited about your arrival, given your vast experience, the trophies you've won, your pedigree. What would your message be, though, to those fans who would have preferred the England team to be managed by an English coach? And do you understand that position?
I'm sorry, I just have a German passport, but I can just tell them, and maybe all of these supporters also felt my passion for the English Premier League, my passion for the country, how I love to live here and how I love to work here. So my memories are on the highest level of that played a huge role. And hopefully I can convince them and show them and prove them that I'm proud to be the English manager. I will do everything to show respect to this role and to this country. And the target for the next 18 months is nothing else than the biggest one in world football, and everyone can be assured of, no matter what nationality my passport says.
Mark, if I may ask, you say in your statement you interviewed several candidates. Can you shed any light, a bit more detail on that? For example, how many? Were any English? Was Lee Carsley ever a realistic possibility? Can you give us any more details about who else you spoke to?
Sure, Dan. As you'd understand, the whole process was confidential, and I understand at times that might have been frustrating for people, but we had to maintain that confidentiality for us, but also really more importantly for the candidates. So I'll say a few things, but I'll hold it at that. So we interviewed approximately 10 people, and we did interview some English candidates within that. As to anything further, you wouldn't expect me to divulge any details, really.
Thomas, Steve Scott from ITV News. Chelsea fans will know you very well. Other Premier League fans will know you well, but obviously England fans are a much bigger group than that. So for those who don't know you, what sort of person are you? Can you describe your personality?
My personality?
Your personality.
Well, maybe I try to describe my coaching personality, but I think it's pretty obvious. I'm very emotional, and I love to be I love what I'm doing. I'm passionate about football, and like we said before, this task and this role just brought the young me alive, and it brought back my teenage days, to get excited for such a big task, for the Three Lions, for playing matches at Wembley, for working with this group of players. So everyone can be assured that we will do it with passion and with emotions, and we will try to install values and principles and rules as quickly as possible to make the dream come true. First, we have to, of course, go through the qualification process to the World Cup, but it starts for us in January, and we will dive in completely.
Gareth Southgate developed a very specific culture within the England camp. Will you try and maintain that, or do you think you need to create your own, one that's more aligned to you?
No, we will build on it. We will build on it. I think Gareth and the FA did a fantastic job in terms of stability and consistency. Look at the last results in the tournament. It's a quarter-final, semi-final, and two finals in the last four tournaments. It's outstanding. The under-21s win titles. The younger teams are in the competition to win titles. The women team wins titles. So we are there. I think the federation is there, and it was a big part of taking that job. I am curious. I want to learn. I will have a different schedule than in club football, but it was a big part that's the knowledge and the quality of the federation to have that at my side. And to combine it with my ideas, with our ideas. So we will build on everything that Gareth built and the FA built, and hopefully we can add a little bit of extra to get it over the line.
Thomas, welcome and congratulations.
Thank you.
You took an English team, Chelsea, to a Champions League final against Manchester City, who were overwhelming favourites going into that, and won. What does the prospect of 58 years of hurt mean to you? And are you relishing putting a second star on an England shirt?
Like I said, I got Mark and John made very clear that it's about football, and this excited me very quickly because I was not sure before we had this first talk if this is a role for me like in international football, because the schedule is very different from club football. But then we found so many similarities and so many things that suited my approach and my hunger to achieve special things. I always wanted to come back to England. That was my big goal. I have the best memories of the country, of the league and of the players. The attitude towards the game, the attitude from the supporters who that shapes the players, and the character of the players was one of a kind. And that's why the offer came in the absolutely right time. We kept the momentum in, and within weeks we found a vision to share and a project and an adventure that I'm very happy to be a big part of. And now I have to live up to it, of course. And I know that there are some trophies missing in the federation, and of course I want to help to make it happen.
You just said in a social media post, you said that you would like to put another star on our shirt.
Yeah.
You're already pledging your allegiance, as it were. A big question for Lee Castley had to answer. Will you sing the national anthem? Does an England manager need to?
Yeah, I understood from Mark that it's a personal decision, first of all, if you sing it, and there were managers who sang it and others who didn't. I have not made my decision yet. I want to be very honest with you. Your anthem is very moving. The English anthem is very moving. I experienced it several times here at Wembley, and even out with the players in a FA Cup final. So it was very touching. No matter what decision I will take, we have a bit time until March. I will always show my respect to my new role, to the country, and of course to a very moving anthem. But as this is a new subject, I will take a little bit time for this decision.
Just a reminder, state name and organisation.
Rob Harris from Sky News. Welcome back. Congratulations.
Thank you.
Are you prepared for the pressure and intensity that the England job brings? And was that something that was on your mind in the past? Perhaps managers decided not to take this role because of the spotlight on their private life and things like that?
This is always the last thing I think about, and because I'm up for the pressure on the sportive side. I'm up for the big challenge. I'm up for the task. I'm up for these 18 months to work with this group and be part of this amazing federation. So these are all the reasons to jump in. The pressure on the personal side, or the pressure that comes from media and that could arise if things don't go so well, is never part of the decision making, and I don't feel it so much. I feel it, of course, then in the process, but it's always it's always a privilege, and my love and my passion for the game is always much more than the downside of it.
And from watching England at recent tournaments, how do you think you can make the difference and turn this team into trophy winners?
I think, first of all, they are there. We are there. The players proved, the group of players proved that they are there. The consistency of quarterfinals, semi-finals, finals is impressive. And it shows that we have players who compete in the strongest league in the world, day in, day out. So we have the ingredients. And we fully trust that this is the moment to install, maybe also from club football, patterns, behaviors, principles that can maybe help to push the team over the line. We will need luck. We will need the momentum. We will need to be lucky to not have injuries and so on, and little decision within the games. That is a given. But we feel confident to add something from our experience in club football that can maybe help. But most important is to even if we speak out now very openly what the target is about the second star, We have to prove ourselves all the time. You're a national player every single day. I will be a national coach every single day, and not only when a camp is. So we have to live up to these standards, but I'm very confident that everybody is used to that. So this is what I demand from myself. And then we need to show it in qualification and build an atmosphere with the supporters and the country that extra special things can happen.
Rob Brimby, ARD Television, German TV's London Bureau.
Wow.
Es gibt Leute, eine Frage auf Deutsch, wenn es möglich ist. Es gibt
Okay.
Leute, die sagen, dass der Nationaltrainer muss aus England kommen. Wie können sich solche Vorurteile überwinden?
I think they have a point. Oh, you want to shall I translate?
English.
Shall I
yeah,
translate?
yeah. English questions from now on, but if you answer. Yeah.
I think
Antwort?
everyone has its opinion, and I can understand even an opinion when someone says, like, I would fancy an English coach more for the English team. I can understand it, but I think we deserve a fair chance. We deserve the credit for having a good record in the country, for never being shy of how much we love to live in the country and how much we enjoy to work with the players in Premier League. So maybe this counts a little bit for a British edge on my German passport, and so we will try to convince them by results and by the way we play.
In English then, Gareth Southgate was described by many people as sympathetic, human and emotionally intelligent. How would you describe yourself?
I think we're all human. I mean, we're all human, and this is a big part of the job. I think, like I said, I am impressed of the record that Gareth provided with this team, and I am very well aware of what he built together with Mark and John in the federation as a foundation. And now it's on us to leave our own marks, to leave our own footprints, and we will try to take the next step from there.
Hi, Thomas. Congratulations. It's been widely reported that you've signed an 18-month contract. Is that true, firstly? And secondly, if so, how do you feel about potentially only having one shot at a tournament?
Well, let's see. It's 18 months, and then we agreed to sit together, and then we see. I mean, I have good experience with 18 months, personally. Unfortunately, also, sometimes. I'm working on my long-term game, but you never know. The point was, in this particular case, that it was important for me to have a frame around it, because it's a little bit a step into the unknown for me. I am used to work on a daily basis with the staff. I'm used to work with a daily basis on the team, to have the influence on 60, 80 people in a training camp on every single day, to be 3 days a week away in hotel rooms and prepare matches. And this will be very different. So, like the last piece of bit for me to understand that this is something that can really excite me to the fullest, and was the time frame of 18 months. To not also and to also to demand from myself to not lose the focus for all of us. So I think it's a good time frame, because it will help us to focus. We are focused on the qualification and on the World Cup. It will help us in the nomination process. It will help us in the communication towards the players within the staff. So I think this is now very streamlined and very easy to explain. We are here to work on the best possible outcome for the World Cup 26. And then let's see. Whatever comes.
You obviously came in at Chelsea and had an immediate impact and won the Champions League in a matter of months. Do you think that experience is translatable to England and the time frame you've got now?
I think so, yes, but I'm not fully sure, because I have to feel into it. The schedule will be different. The workload will be different. But I wanted this. I wanted exactly this once Mark and John presented me the opportunity and made it very clear that it's about me and that they trust me with this process in pushing this team. I was very happy now to have the chance also to learn on this process, to have the strong foundation and stability and quality of the federation, to get better, to get smarter, and to get better while I'm on this job. So that was a big part of it.
And just
Sorry,
finally,
James, it's two questions. Come across to Henry Winter here, please. We've got time for a few more in this section, so if we can limit it to one question each, that'd be great. Thank you.
Hi, Thomas. Henry Winter, World Soccer. First, congratulations. And secondly, you know Harry Kane well.
Yeah.
Did you speak to him before taking the job? And will he remain your captain?
I did speak to no one. We kept the process very confidential between Mark, John, and me. I did not speak to Harry. I didn't speak to Gareth. I also normally I never do this, to get my own feeling for it and get my own point of view and let it sink in and reflect on it. So no, haven't done it yet. It's too early to answer these kind of questions. You know how highly I think and feel for Harry, and how much I fought to bring him to Bayern Munich, and so he is already on his way to be a legend in English football. But now I think it's also very important to give the respect to Lee and the upcoming camp in November, to take his decisions free and without me interfering, and then we will answer this question latest in March.
Hi, Thomas. James Robson, Associated Press. You said it was a goal to get back to England. Can I ask why?
Say again?
You said it was a goal to get back to England for you. Can I ask why you chose England over, say, Manchester United, who you've been strongly linked with?
Which would also have been England, but in
why
the
the England
country.
national team?
Because the idea and the way John and Mark presented it was very fast, very exciting, and it was very confidential. It was very trustful. It was very straightforward, and that was basically a decision for this job and not a decision against anything else. You will understand that I will not comment on individual players today, and for sure not comment, like always, on any other clubs.
Can I ask, Mark, were you rejected by anyone? Or was Thomas the only person you offered the job to?
We ran a really clear process. We spoke with 10, like I said, approximately 10 people throughout the process. Clearly, some were more up for the role than others, but we were absolutely delighted to end up with Thomas, and we believe he gives us the best chance of winning the World Cup, so we believe we've got the best candidate for the job.
Okay, sorry to disappoint those waiting. We'll have to end the live section at that moment. From this moment onwards, it's embargoed until 10:30 p.m. this evening. We'll also make this one question per person so we can get through as many of you as possible. Ian Laderman, do you want to take the mic?
Thomas Tuchel speaking for the first time since he was confirmed as the new head coach of England. He said lots of things. He started by talking about how excited he was, the honour it was to be the new head coach of England. He said he had a chance to read a quote from Pelé speaking about Wembley being the heart, the cathedral of football. He said it is absolutely right. He was thanking the FA for their trust. He said he's looking forward to starting at St George's Park with an exciting group of players. He was asked whether or not this would be his biggest challenge, his biggest achievement, if he can lead England to winning a World Cup. He said that he understood very, very quickly that it is a big job. He said it's a privilege. He talked a lot about the comparison and what he can bring from club football into football for a national team. He spoke about the responsibility that he has in terms of leading this side and working with this group of players and being able to push that task over the line of winning a major trophy in 2026. The topic of him not being an English football manager was also brought up. Mark Bullingham was asked about that. He said it was always clear that they wanted the best person for the job. They owe it to the players to give them the best player for the job, support and leadership, and he said that he thinks he's done that. Thomas Tuchel, very much the best man for the job. Thomas Tuchel was asked, did he have a message for the fans who might have preferred an English coach? His first words were sorry, but he did say that he wants supporters to feel his passion for the Premier League and how he loved to live and work in England. He says he can hopefully convince the fans, show that he is proud to be the England manager and that everyone can be assured that he will do the best possible job. Mark Bullingham was asked about how many candidates were interviewed. He said around 10 people, and that did include some English candidates, but Thomas Tuchel very much the prime candidate. He was also asked about how he would describe himself. He said, my coaching personality, he said he's very emotional, he loves what he's doing, very passionate about football and just about how excited he is about the task in hand. He said he'll install values and principles and rules to make the dreams come true of the England fans. He was also speaking about the fact that Gareth Southgate had developed a very specific culture. Was he going to maintain that culture? Does he want to create his own culture? He said he's very much going to build on it. He said Gareth Southgate and the FA have done a fantastic job in terms of ability and consistency. He spoke about the outstanding results so far. He said they're there. A big part of taking on this job was the fact that this culture already exists, and he wants to bring in his knowledge of club football into the international level and build on everything that Gareth Southgate and the FA have already done. Right, let's get some immediate reaction to this. Alan Smith joins me now, and Alan, you were listening in to Thomas Tuchel's first news conference there. First of all, what did you make of his overall performance?
As expected, really, Joe. He's confident, he's charismatic, isn't he? We've seen that face, that voice many times before in England. You can see that he's honoured and maybe a little nervous. He understands the size of the job. So I think he's very excited about it because, as he said on a few occasions, it's much different from club management, and he will be learning as he goes along. But, you know, there's no doubt in his talent as a coach. He's got a winning mentality. So we'll see.
About the fact that he's not an English manager. He actually said sorry. That was his first message to the England fans about that. But obviously he's lived here, he's worked here, and he's hoping to win the England fans over. What is your take on all of that?
Well, I mean, I am disappointed that we've not continued with an English manager. I thought we'd moved away from the Sven-Göran Eriksson, Fabio Capello years. And I do believe that the England manager should be English in the way that, you know, Germany, Italy, Spain probably feel that they should have a homegrown manager. So from that point of view, it's disappointing. It's disappointing for English coaches, I think. And Mark Bullingham said that they had spoken to some English coaches. Now, how those conversations went, we don't know, but you're assuming Eddie Howe was in there, Graham Potter, maybe, and they decided against. But who knows what the situation of somebody like Eddie Howe is? Graham Potter's available, but they moved away from that. So I think they're almost kind of backed into a little bit of a corner. They didn't have too many high-quality options. They might have feared that Thomas Tuchel would get a club job in the not-too-distant future, always talking about the Manchester United hot seat there. So they wanted to act sooner rather than later.
And Mark Bullingham as well was speaking about this, the contract as well, an 18-month deal initially. When Tuchel was asked about it, he actually said that he quite likes the fact that it was an 18-month contract because it gives him some focus to get the job done in those 18 months. What did you make of what he had to say about that?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's quite sensible, rather. You know, that's a time frame where he can decide if actually this is for him, and the FA can decide if he's the right man. And as he said, he's done quite well previously on shorter contracts. Maybe he prefers that little time frame to keep you on your toes, and if you're enjoying it, to earn an extension. So obviously it takes us up to the World Cup in 2026. And should we do well in that? I mean, we're talking about a foreign coach, and a lot of people will be disappointed. Will they be disappointed if we win the World Cup in America, Canada, etc.? Maybe not. So we'll wait and see on that one. But I think from the players' perspective, Joe, they'll all be intrigued. They'll all be excited. A new method, a new voice, a demanding voice, and I'm sure a lot of them will be asking the likes of Reece James, Mason Mount, who've played under him, exactly what he's like. So a new start for everybody.
Yeah, because it does seem the target is very much winning this next World Cup. What kind of pressure does that bring, though?
Yeah, I mean, of course, there's pressure there. And you do wonder, when you're not an Englishman, will you feel that to the same extent that an Englishman would? Because at the end of the day, you could describe him as a gun for hire, and it's another job, an esteemed job in his football management career. Certainly good for his CV. But, yeah, but there's still an awful lot of pressure. You know, his private life, that intrusion into that side of his life is something you have to consider when you take the job. But I think he's got thick skin, and he's experienced a lot of pressure before, so he's going in with his eyes open, I'm sure.
And he spoke a lot about the fact that obviously what he's done at club football, he's got no experience as an international football manager. But how do you think that will translate, the experience he has, the success that he's had at club level, onto the international stage?
Yeah, well, it's getting to grips with the fact that you've got very little time with the players. And obviously Lee Carsley came out with that statement about the system he was trying against Greece, and he had about 20 minutes to try and perfect it. So you're in that territory, really, aren't you, where the lads come in, you're assessing what state of fitness they are in, who can train on that given day, how much work can you put them through. This is all new to him. This is all new. So he's got to learn as he goes along. And maybe, you know, he doesn't actually know at this moment whether he's going to like it or not. I'm sure that will be the case, because it's chalk and cheese from club football when it consumes every living minute of the day, really. So, yeah, we'll see. It'd be fascinating to see how he goes on. But as I said earlier, Joe, you know, he's confident enough, and he's got that belief in his own ability that he'll feel that he can make a difference.
Yeah, Alan, stay with us. We're going to bring Jamie Redknapp in now as well. Jamie, thank you so much for joining us this afternoon. You were also listening into Thomas Tuchel speaking there. What did you make of his first news conference as the new England boss?
You know what, Joe? Hi, Alan. How you doing, mate? Exactly how I expected it. I've met him a few times. He's incredibly charismatic, confident. I like him. I like him a lot. And I have to be honest, a few years ago, I'd have said, like, I think I would have really struggled having another foreign manager. Obviously, it hasn't worked out previously, you know, with Capello and Sven-Goran Eriksson. I've almost got to the point I just want the best man for the job. And how the FA have got to it, I think Alan alluded to it. It does feel like a bit of a muddle. I think, if I'm honest, if Lee Carsley would have probably beaten Greece, I think he'd have probably been appointed the next England manager. I think that's how this has happened so quickly. The fact that he struggled with the press, and the press obviously will eat you alive. And I think when we talk about a coach, and we call him a coach, I think we've got to describe him as a manager, because you've not just got to manage a team, you've got to manage the press. Everything about your life will be scrutinised to the extent that no other job will give you. You are the second most important person in this country now, after the Prime Minister. You know, you have to make sure that you're ready for everything that gets thrown at you on and off the pitch. It's a huge job for him, huge opportunity because of the players he has at his disposal. There's absolutely no doubt. It's a great generation of players we've got there. And he's just got to make sure that he's brave in his decisions. And that's what it comes back to, managing the players. Who's you going to pick? We've got a great squad, and I think you'd agree with that, Alan.
Well, yeah, I mean, it's important to mention that, Jamie, isn't it? He's got a group of players, arguably, as good as any in the world, and he'll be licking his lips at getting to grips with them on the training ground, and he'll probably have in his mind already what kind of 11 he would prefer to put out, given if everybody was fit. So he won't be scared to disappoint people, to upset them, to leave some big names out, maybe, because we've got so many top players in the high end of the pitch. You know, you're thinking, how do you cram all these in? The likes of Foden Bellingham, Cole Palmer and the like. So that's going to be really interesting, you know, what kind of shape he deploys and who gets into that starting 11.
Yeah, because actually, Jamie, do you think he will have to make some tough calls in terms of personnel and perhaps it will come to the fact that he will be dropping a big name at some point?
Yeah, that goes with football management, doesn't it? You always have to look at who the best players are. He obviously worked closely with Harry Kane last year, had a phenomenal season with him. There's a lot of good players that are, you know, at your disposal. You know, Foden, Grealish, who's been excellent under Lee Carsley. Will he maybe think to himself now that he's earned the right to play? Cole Palmer. So that's the predicament. How do you get... It's not about the best players. It's about picking the best team. And that's sometimes where England managers have struggled. They've maybe gone for the approach of just trying to keep everybody happy. Now, I do think we need more of an attacking approach than what we had in the summer. I know we got to the final, but it was a really tough watch. You know, there wasn't very much flair, and the way that we played, I don't think was very easy on the eye at times. So I think Thomas will certainly look at that and want to play in a different style to what we played in the summer. But it's going to be interesting to see how he does that. But keeping players happy that's part of management. That's what the price on the ticket. That's what you're getting paid the big money for, to make the big decisions. And whoever it is, whether it's your captain, whether it's the goalkeeper, if you feel that's the right decision to get the best job done, you've got to make those decisions. That's why we're employing him. And the fact that maybe he's not an English manager, he might not get as emotional with these things. He might be able to maybe almost find it a bit easier to do that. So it's going to be very interesting how he sort of dissects the team, who he thinks is his best 11, because it's like you've got a whole season, players coming in and out of form, and I just want him to pick. One thing I will say about Lee Carsley, he picked form players. He didn't go for players that have been tried and trusted. Maybe they've done a great job for Gareth Southgate. He picked what he felt were the best form players at the time. And I'd like to see Thomas Tuchel do that. And if that means upsetting one or two players, then so be it.
Jamie, how good could this be for Harry Kane? Because we heard Harry Kane speaking so highly of Thomas Tuchel. Tuchel, you know, bringing out the best in Harry Kane. He had his best scoring season under Tuchel. How good could this be for the England captain?
I think secretly, I think Harry will be delighted, won't he? He'll look at that and go, he knows me, I know him, we work together. Get the right players around him. I can't remember the numbers that were astronomical last year for Bayern Munich. And they obviously had a really good understanding of how each other wants to play. But Harry will be well aware he's got to score goals. You know, it's not because you've worked him before, the manager's going to come in and automatically you're going to get picked. You've still got to earn the right, and Harry will be well aware of that. You know, I'm sure Alan will tell you, when you're a striker, you're judged on your goals. If you're not scoring enough goals, the pressure will come on. And I think also at times with England managers in the past, the press have almost said they've dictated who the team who they want to see playing. I don't want to see that. I want to see Thomas be brave and make decisions that are the right thing that he thinks at the time. And don't worry about clamours for players or if someone's doing. It's got to look at, this is my team, his identity. And I think that's something that he has to do and have that right approach. He's a very confident manager, and I don't think he'll be fazed by it at all.
And Alan, do you agree with that in terms of Harry Kane? Will he be sitting there with a bit of a smile on his face, the fact that Thomas Tuchel is going to be the new man in charge?
Yeah, I mean, when you haven't worked with a manager and you're not quite sure what he likes and how he works, what he's getting, and he knows the new manager rates him, why wouldn't you? With the goals he scored at Bayern last year. So he'll go in there, I think, excited and hoping, of course, that he can win a trophy for Harry's country. So it's less of uncharted territory, if you like, for Harry, and he'll be letting the lads know exactly what Thomas Tuchel wants from his players. You know, he might call up somebody we haven't really thought of. I mean, Lee Carsley called up Angel Gomez, didn't he, from Lille in France, and Tuchel might be the same in terms of he's got his eye on somebody that could maybe do a job in a certain position. So seeing his first squad and his first match next year will be absolutely fascinating.
And Jamie, you spoke a little bit about the character of Thomas Tuchel just at the start there. In terms of a character compared to Gareth Southgate, what do you think we're going to see from Tuchel?
Gareth handled the press magnificently. I think if you were to do a masterclass on it, Gareth wouldn't have been far off it. He was always excellent how he managed them. He never really committed himself too much to any decisions or got himself in any controversy, which was just perfect for the FA. So I think that that's something that you have to do. You have to make sure that you're everything in your private life is going to get scrutinised. That's the difficulty. And I think, I'm sure I would certainly do it if I was him. I'd reach out to Gareth and ask about the difficulties and how to manage the team and how to manage the situations off the field. Anybody that's been in this position, because as I said, the pressure of being England manager is absolutely immense. It's hard being an England player, but the manager, it gets scrutinised with an inch of his life. So I think that would be that would be my advice, to reach out to Gareth, have a chat with him. I'm sure he's the sort of guy that would be only willing to help. And just make sure you're brave in your decisions. I think that's the thing that Thomas will do. I've got no doubt. I've met him, as I say, and I'm sure you have, Alan, on your at different times at matches. He's an articulate guy. He's charismatic. He's an exciting coach. I can't think of a better international manager than what we've just hired. Obviously, people were talking about Pep, and we were maybe dreaming about that for a little while. But we've now got to a point where we've got Thomas Tuchel. He's a Champions League winner. Done great at all the clubs he's been at. So I'm relatively excited about it. I really am. I think it's an exciting time for the country. I think we've just got to get behind him now and forget about anything else that goes with it. I think going forward, the FA will have to look at this situation and go, right, okay, how do we make our English coaches better to make sure that the next one is probably an English coach? Is it something to do with the coaching badges? Are we fulfilling everything, all the requirements to get the best coaches? Obviously, with foreign owners now, they probably don't feel the need, or they won't necessarily gravitate towards an English coach, which makes it more difficult. That's why Eddie Howe doing the job he has at Newcastle is excellent. So hopefully more English managers in higher positions will certainly help, maybe making sure that the next England manager is an English one. But right now we've got Thomas Tuchel. I think it's as good as what we could have possibly got. I think Eric Ten Hag will be delighted as well, because he's not going to be in the mix for the Manchester United job. So there's, I think it's interesting that we're going to have one of the best coaches in world football, best managers in world football managing our team. Let's hope it works out. And the truth is, just win. Don't worry about anything else. Just win a trophy and you will be an absolute hero. We won't care where you're from.
We heard from Gary Neville before. He said that the appointment, perhaps a bit damaging to English coaching, just to pick up on the kind of non-English element of this. Do you agree with this sentiment? Is it perhaps a little bit damaging to English coaching as a whole, Jamie?
It's difficult, Joe. It's very difficult for English coaches now because, as I say, there's foreign owners come in and they look at getting the elite managers, if you like. And obviously Pep would be the number one in the world. And obviously Tuchel's come into different jobs. It's harder for English managers probably what it's ever been. So how do we help them going forward? Maybe we make sure that the coaches are getting coached even better. Or when the players go and do the pro licence, is it at the top level to make sure that we're producing our managers? But it's become more and more difficult, as I say, because of, if you look at Arne Slot coming in, he wouldn't have been probably the first choice or the first person I'd have thought of being the next Liverpool manager, but he's done an excellent job so far. We've got to somehow make sure that we create elite managers, because I think people do, for whatever reason, look and think they're not quite at the same level. Now, do I think, having worked with English managers when I was younger, I don't agree with it. But that's the problem. You're only really going to give the job to the people that are in the positions of power or at the top clubs. And Eddie Howe would have been probably the one that is in the highest profile. He's done a great job at Newcastle. Did he want the job? Obviously, we don't know that. Or did he maybe not fit the requirements right now? I would have thought he would have done if they would have chosen to pick him. But the most important thing is, getting that. They have to have that's why it would have been so hard for Lee Carsley. He hasn't managed at the top level yet. And that's why it's hard. You need to be able to cut your teeth working with great players all the time, week in, week out, to have that respect. So, yeah, there's a lot of things that I think the FA need to look at, but they also need a little bit of help with the Premier League, in terms of with the foreign owners now. They're always going to tend to go towards foreign managers, because that seems to be the approach these days. There's not a lot you can do about that.
Let's switch attention and talk a little bit about style of play now, because Thomas Tuchel, he was kind of known for this defensive style of play. I think it was 50 games when he came in at Chelsea, 31 clean sheets. Obviously, the style of play is always debated when it comes to a national side. Alan, how do you see Thomas Tuchel kind of putting his stamp on this English team in terms of that style?
Yeah, maybe a little unfair, Joe, to describe him as a defensive coach. I wouldn't say that. You come into a club and you try and get the foundations right, make sure you're keeping clean sheets, hard to beat. And he did that at Chelsea. I mean, look at the goals that his Bayern team scored. So he'll work with what he's got, and most of the quality in the England squad is going forward, isn't it? And he'll be trying to make the very most of that. So any manager with any sense would do. He'd be licking his lips, I'm sure, at working with the players that we've got going forward. Yes, he'll want to get that rear guard sorted, but we've been quite strong defensively over the years under Gareth, and I know he got criticised for being too defensive, but you can't leave that alone. You've still got to maintain those foundations. But Tuchel is more than capable of deciding what he wants going forward and picking the right blend, I think. And you know, I wish him well. I would have preferred to have seen an Englishman, but now he's got the job. We've got to all get behind him, cut him a little bit of slack at the start because, as I said, he's learning on his feet. But if he can bring England a trophy, then who would care what his passport says? So let's hope he can do that.
And what about you, Jamie? Is it a case of whatever style of play, as long as he's winning a trophy at the end of it?
Yeah, I think so, Joe. But he's also a very flexible coach. I think when he took over the Chelsea job and they won the Champions League, he went in there, he looked at the players at his disposal, and they went for a 3 at the back for a lot of that season, had a lot of success doing it. Then he decided to go to a 4, which has been his favourite, formation, if you like. But I think that's the best thing. We're not maybe blessed. I think if you were looking at an area where we perhaps where you're hoping for someone to really jump out defensive, would be in the defensive positions. I think that's where, going forward in midfield, the likes of Bellingham, we've got generational talents in that area. It's fitting that going forward, and certainly as a striker, Harry Kane will be obviously his number 9. Just defensively, how he feels is the best way to make sure you get results. Making sure at times where we don't, we were taught a lesson in the Spain game in the final where we were just kept getting outnumbered in midfield. We never really felt comfortable of having possession of the ball. That's something that I would like to see Thomas really do, because that is something that we struggled with for many years. And Alan's made a great point about Angel Gomez coming in. And I think as a midfielder, he's been a revelation because he's so comfortable on the ball. It might be seen as a bit of a experiment by Lee Carsley, but it's certainly one that's worked. His pass completion and keeping the ball and manipulating it, passing the ball to his own team, being comfortable in all situations is what you've got to do if you play for your country, because you get a little bit more time at times, but you've also got to make sure you keep the ball. Don't want to be chasing it too often, because you looked in the Euros, that's where we really struggled. But I think there is, that's something that he's got to look at. What's my best system with this team? Don't think I'm going to go, I'm going to play a 4 at the back if you think that we're better off playing with a 3. So fascinating to see where that's going to end up. But to answer your other question, yeah, of course, just got to win. If he wins the tournament, it will be an absolute, it'd be amazing. Gareth Southgate was, one game away from being knighted and getting any job in world football. That's how quickly it can change. And if he'd have lost against, the game before we managed, when Bellingham got the overhead kick, he'd never got another job in football. That's how precarious and how football can change so quickly.
And just finally then, guys, Alan, Thomas Tuchel, he seems confident, he seems excited. Should England fans also be feeling confident and excited right now?
Well, I think so, Joe. Yeah, because he's an established, successful manager. And what I would say, I can't think of another manager apart from the one that succeeded Alf Ramsey, who's coming in where the bar has been set so high. And Tuchel mentioned it several times. Now England are getting to semis, they're getting to finals. And if we don't do that now, it's going to be a failure. The only thing he can take it on from Southgate is by winning trophies. So, yeah, the bar has been set high, and I think the fans will get behind him. I think you'll see a very proactive manager on the touchline who'll make decisions quickly, maybe a bit quicker than Gareth did. So I think there's a lot to admire in his methods, and as I said, I just wish him well.
And Jamie, same question to you?
Yeah, I think this is the dream job. You haven't really, in effect, if you forget, obviously Gareth had that record of getting to finals and we haven't won. You haven't really, in a way, got a lot to beat. You haven't won anything since '66. We've got the best squad we've had in years, a huge opportunity. I am excited for Thomas. I think this is a great opportunity for him, the job, going forward, working with a lot of really, really exciting young players. I'm sure he's licking his lips thinking, if I can just get this team going, give them that confidence and that belief to get to the next step. Because what Gareth did is he made players proud to play for their country again. And Thomas has to keep that, because that was lost for a long while. Certainly in my era, where there was divisions, there was cliques, the Man United players, Liverpool players. We never got on, and we never saw that common theme, which was making sure we were successful for England. Gareth changed that. So I think now, with Thomas Tuchel coming in, I can't think of a more elite manager in world or international football right now. We should be really excited about it. So fingers crossed, he can go and do a great job, and we can win something, and that's what we all want.
Jamie, Alan, thank you so much for joining us. It's been really great to get your reaction to that. Thank you.
Thanks, Joe. See you soon, Alan.
Thank you. Thank you. Cheers, mate.
Right, do stay with us because Thomas Tuchel has given his first news conference as the new head coach of England. He says he's very excited, he's very honoured, he knows that it is a big job. We will bring you much more from Tuchel, as well as plenty more reaction next.
in a major tournament and end their wait for a first major title since 1966. Tuchel has become the third non-English head coach to take on the role, following in the footsteps of Sven-Göran Eriksson and Fabio Capello. Tuchel, who's won the biggest club prize in football, the Champions League, doesn't believe his nationality should be a cause for concern and believes he deserves a fair chance to succeed.
I'm sorry, I just have a German passport, but I can just tell them, and maybe all of these supporters also felt my passion for the English Premier League, my passion for the country, how I love to live here and how I love to work here. So my memories are on the highest level of that played a huge role. And hopefully I can convince them and show them and prove them that I'm proud to be the English manager. I will do everything to show respect to this role and to this country. And the target for the next 18 months is nothing else than the biggest one in world football, and everyone can be assured of, no matter what nationality my passport says. Everyone has its opinion, and I can understand even an opinion when someone says, like, I would fancy an English coach more for the English team. I can understand it, but I think we deserve a fair chance. We deserve the credit for having a good record in the country, for never being shy of how much we love to live in the country and how much we enjoy to work with the players in Premier League. So maybe this counts a little bit for a British edge on my German passport, and so we will try to convince them by results and by the way we play. I understood very quickly that it's a big job. I think it's always the job you're in is the biggest job that you don't get, and it does not make a lot of sense to compare. But it feels big, and it feels, like I said, like a privilege. It is very new because I come from club football, so the rhythm, the responsibility, the role is a new role, which is also very exciting. I was very open for that and liked the idea of it. I always wanted to come back to England. That was my big goal. I have the best memories of the country, of the league and of the players. The attitude towards the game, the attitude from the supporters who that shapes the players, and the character of the players was one of a kind. And that's why the offer came in the absolutely right time. We kept the momentum in, and within weeks we found a vision to share and a project and an adventure that I'm very happy to be a big part of. And now I have to live up to it, of course. And I know that there are some trophies missing in the federation, and of course I want to help to make it happen. I felt already excited, and that it suited my passion and my strive to push this group of players and to be part of this federation with such a strong record in the last tournaments, to push it over the line and to try to put a second star on the shirt.
We're breaking away to bring you up to date with the cricket now. England lost 4 key wickets for just 14 runs as Pakistan's spinners really gave them the edge on the second day of the second test, ripping through England's middle order to turn it really on its head after bowling Pakistan